Hey, this is Meridith Elliott Powell, and welcome back to Thriving in Uncertainty, the show where we dive into the steps, we cover the strategies, everything that you need to know to thrive in an uncertain marketplace. Well, I am really excited today because with me is leadership expert Libby Gill. Libby, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Meredith. I'm so happy to be here to talk about uncertainty.
Oh, our favorite subject, right? Well, let's go ahead and dive right in because I don't want to waste one single moment while we've got you on here because you are just, I was telling you right before the broadcast, I mean, you are just fascinating. You always have your hands in so many different things. But just for those one or two people that may not know you out there, give us a little bit of background on you, exactly how you became a leadership expert and what exactly you do.
Okay. I started in the corporate world, working in corporate entertainment, started for a company that was founded by a real television legend, Norman Lear, All in the Family, all these other great shows. And I was the kid in the PR department. I was an assistant in the PR department. And then that company went through all these rapid changes. It was acquired by Columbia and then Coca-Cola and then Sony. And in 5 years, I went from assistant to being the head of the department, vice president of publicity, advertising, and promotion for Sony's worldwide TV group. Then I went to Turner Broadcasting. Then I went to Universal. And after about 16 years of that, I had run all sorts of communications functions for 3 studios and decided it's time to do something I really want to do. And that was executive coaching. I had always loved helping young people to develop as leaders. And so I looked around for a job like that, and I thought, I don't know if there is one. So in my 40s, I just started my first business. I wrote my first book. I left the corporate world. I started a business, got a divorce, bought a new house, lost 30 pounds all in 1 year. And that's my background. And now I'm still executive coaching. I love doing that. So I coach. I speak like you do out there when the world opens up. Meantime, it's like this. And I write. I'm working on my 6th book right now. And so that's sort of the nutshell.
Yeah, you have a new book coming out, which I want to talk about in a little bit. But, actually working in the entertainment industry, I would think in general would be uncertain just because it's probably just an industry that's changing like crazy. But add to that the fact that it got sold, it merged, it acquired, that types of things. You sound like you really grew up in an uncertain marketplace. But I always like to ask every guest that we have on this show, when you think of uncertainty, what is uncertainty? Like, what comes up for you?
My entire life comes up for me. I mean, I was one of those kids that grew up, parents got divorced. I moved back and forth between parents, then between countries and parents. So uncertainty really was a way of life. It was a lot of chaos thrown in. I went to a different high school every year, including 2 in my senior year.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've never been to a high school or college reunion in my life. I was just always on the move, which in some ways it's very disruptive, especially when you're a young kid. But it also made me really adaptable. I mean, you learn to be sort of chameleon-like, and you can jump into a new environment like I did in the workplace. And it didn't throw me too much. It was just kind of, my motto was, I'll raise my hand and figure it out later, was, still kind of works today, was very much how I learned to thrive. And that was really learning that uncertainty will not crush you. Yeah. If you take it head on and control what you can, and there's a lot you can control in uncertainty. I mean, we can't control when COVID is going to end or when a vaccine is coming out, but we can control a lot within our own our bubbles.
The thing that I think is that, well, one question I want to ask you, do you think that experiencing a lot of uncertainty, either early in your career or early in your life, makes you more resilient for it?
I do think it does. I mean, some people, those are some of the people that end up with real addiction or mental illness or real problems out of some of those childhood traumas. And that's my cause in life is mental illness. And I volunteer on a board. So there are traumas that are very hard to overcome. Mm-hmm. And so I don't make light of that. But there are lots of uncertainties that we deal with that don't take our soul. And we learn to be, more resilient. Oh, I survived that. I got through that. I keep telling people that about this time period, because I talk about this journey of change. And it's like, we've always been on a journey of change.
Right.
There's always been, this is profound and different, but we've always been dealing with levels of uncertainty. At least to me, the people that are willing to take a risk and branch out, uncertainty comes with that territory. And there are other people, and, God bless him, my brother has been in the same sort of field for 30 years, and he's grown up in the field, but he's never ventured out. That suits him. That's perfect for him. And there are others like that. That was not my way. I don't know that I sought uncertainty, but it seemed to find me.
Well, I kind of wonder if over the years we have become, as a society, a little bit soft. It's interesting. When I started researching my book, Thrive: Turning Uncertainty to Competitive Advantage, I was trying to research companies that have been through uncertain times. And of course, those are companies that have been through they went through the Spanish flu. It's really hard to find any research on the Spanish flu as it relates to business performance, because business and the federal government didn't even speak about it that much, versus the world wars or economic depression. There's a lot on that. And I just wonder if we have had not a lot of uncertainty. So this, while this pandemic is big and it's strong, maybe for our society, because we have become so used to controlling our environment that being outside of this level of control is just extra uncomfortable for us.
I think that's and
yeah.
I think that's and also that we've got this kind of uncertainty where it's hitting on the economics, it's hitting on the health, it's hitting on so many, on just our ability to move freely around the world. So it's got us on so many levels. It's not just one thing, and that goes really deeply into what we're dealing with. And I think that amps up the level of anxiety around this time of uncertainty.
Yeah, I also think that I was talking with a client this morning. Add to that the fact that it happened so fast. I mean, pretty much everybody I speak with, we brought in 2020, and we're not only looking at a new year, but a new decade that we thought was just going to be amazing. And most people came out the door running hard and running strong. And then in a blip, it just all went away.
Yeah, right. And in a week, everything changed.
Yeah, absolutely, in a week. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing that your clients are facing right now? What are the biggest obstacles they're dealing with?
Well, one factor is that so many people are working wall to wall because there are no boundaries. You don't even get to commute home anymore. And so I see a lot of people burning out, particularly women who still have the most of the child care and the household care and all of that. So there are people doing that, homeschooling during the day, trying to get dinner on the table, and it seems like it never ends. So the folks that were already working 10-hour days are now working, 14-hour days. And that takes a huge toll, because it's not, we're in crunch time, we've got a product to get out the door. It's months. And the feeling that there's no end. When this first happened, and I did a video every day about life in the time of coronavirus, thinking, it felt acute at that point, and now it's chronic. So then high level of, oh my gosh, fear and anxiety, is it ever going to return? And now we've sort of settled into, we don't actually know when the end will be, or if it will ever feel like an ending, because it's going to linger on. So I see people stressed out to the max with that. I also see companies that are in the good side of it, that their service or product is needed more than ever.
Yeah.
And it's good for the upward trajectory of the growth, but it's hard on the people. And I think people are really missing the camaraderie of others. I think that's a huge piece. And then just the basics. Most people have figured out how to master technology. There are some things that are not that difficult. And I have no patience anymore for that last person on a Zoom call who says, "Where's the camera?" It's, come on, get
At
a 12
this point, you should get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yet it does take a toll when that is our primary form of communication. It's hard for people. It's a level beyond managing a remote team.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that, what are some things that you're seeing companies do really well right now? Companies that are reinventing themselves to succeed?
I see them hiring, for one thing, which is really exciting that they're bringing new people on. And many companies that I'm working with that are bringing on new people to meet that growth, they've not met any of those people. I mean, most of them, except for one that's a manufacturing company, and they still go in because you can't work a machine from afar. Other than that, they've got people that, I'm working with you for 4 months now, and we've never met in person. So they're smart about team meetings, and they're smart about not overusing them. I'm a big advocate of pick up the phone every now and then, because now everything that we used to do by phone, people feel obliged to jump on a video call, and that's wearing in its own way. I mean, it takes a different part of the brain and focus and concentration. And smart companies are figuring out how to communicate, when not to communicate, how not to overtax people that are already burdened with the long hours. And so I've seen some people get pretty smart about injecting some fun into the workplace, even though it's remote, and that's worked really well. So
You do a lot of work in the leadership space,
Mhm.
and how critical has leadership been, whether you're a small business, a larger organization, in the middle of this crisis?
I think it's everything, at the beginning, at the middle, and as we go forward. If you don't, first of all, there's a great study on what your employees want from you, what your team wants, which of course leaders of organizations, they know what the organization or the board or whoever wants from them. But your team members want 4 things. They want trust, foundational, right? Everybody wants that. They want stability, which I think is critically important now. You talk about uncertainty, the flip side of that is stability. How do you communicate that? I've got your back, I'm your rock, I'm here for you in a time of crisis. They also want compassion. Recognize I'm a human being. I'm dealing with frail elderly parents or kids who are now been home, or my college freshmen who went to school and had to come back because of a COVID outbreak. They want to know you feel something about that. Business doesn't have to stop, but you do need a level of compassion. And here's the thing. I have one leader who's an engineer. A good guy, truly believes that he is compassionate. But when I did a 360, we were talking about this before, he didn't show compassion. He felt it, but nobody saw it. So you don't appear to be compassionate unless you have acts and actions and behaviors that are based on that. And finally, the last thing that's particularly meaningful to me is they want hope. They want you to be that person that says, we will find our way to the future. We don't know yet what that's going to look like, but we're going to get there together because we're in this together. We have a plan. We have a fallback plan, that they're ready for the future and they're charting their course, whether they've been stopped in their tracks because what they do, they can't deliver, or they can't do it in the same way like the restaurant business. And I see here in LA, and we've got a pretty thriving restaurant community, and it's a foodie culture. And people are really trying to go out and pick up from restaurants. Now patios are open. Restaurants are still not open, but patios. So people are really trying to support that business, and they have had to pivot. And a lot of them have had to shut down. And then it's, what do you do to pick up the pieces and move forward again? And that's what great leaders do.
Yeah, my husband and I were just in Charleston, South Carolina. We've got a little place down there. Go down there for a change of pace, and they have patio dining at a lot of the restaurants. And it was interesting. We went into a restaurant that we frequent quite a bit, and it's right on the water. It's absolutely beautiful, but the place was dead. There was nothing happening in it. Then the next night we'd gone out to another restaurant that we just love the food. They have a great patio, but their atmosphere is they're in a little bit more of a suburban kind of area, a lot of traffic and things like that. But they were packed out.
Yeah.
And the difference really came down to the leadership. In the first restaurant, the leader's not engaged. He owns the restaurant. He sits at the bar. He typically knows a few people up there he'll talk to, but no engagement with anybody else at the restaurant. The other one, both the executive chef and the manager of the restaurant visited our table with their masks on, said how glad that we were that they were there. And as we were kind of looking around at things, they've got this great outdoor bar, and at the bar they've taken all the seats and put them in groups of 2 and put plexiglass between each things. Well, my husband immediately noticed that, and he asked about it. And they said, we're just trying to stay one step ahead. We're working with our team all the time. You could just feel the impact of the difference of leadership. And they're just small mom and pop operations. They're not big organizations. But there was a line. We couldn't have gotten in one restaurant without a reservation. We could have shown up at any time in the other and gotten through the door. It's amazing to me what an impact it makes.
And that is so visceral. I mean, you see it, you feel it. And it's the same way here, where some restaurants have been very creative. My son got a new job. We're going out for a celebration tonight. And it's a very fancy restaurant that doesn't have much room, but they took half of their parking lot, found another one to valet in, and built a really beautiful outdoor space with the lights. And they have a special menu every Monday, which they've never done before. So they had to get inventive. They had to be creative. That's what you either figure it out or you don't. And it's really hard for those who have not made that pivot, because it's going to be hard to pull that market share back in, to rebuild from there. And so this is not a time for, kind of laying back and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
We don't have the time for that. And so that is all about the leadership.
What do you do if you are stuck? I mean, I was telling you that I'd done kind of a mini survey, and it's been fascinating to me that about 25% of the people that responded said they're people of action in uncertain times, but well over 70% that responded said they're not. I mean, this worries them, it scares them, and they like more of a wait and see approach. And we don't have the luxury of wait and see right now. So what are some things that you can do if you're a person who you're not sure what to do or where to turn? What are some actions how do you get off dead center?
It's really interesting that you found those numbers, because the work I do in change management, it comes down to almost exactly that. There's a change leader, which, who loves the change agent?
Yeah.
But about 75% of people say, oh, let's just leave it the way it is. They're somewhere in there from, yuck, I'm not doing it, to, if I have to, I will. 25% are, yay, finally, these changes are happening. I'm so excited. But I think personally, it's really having that whatever you call it, your North Star, your vision. I'm a bit of a planner, and I know you are too. So I have I always have my 1-year goal. If I can make one new thing come to life in the course of a year, that's a win. And it has to be ambitious. It's not something I can do in a week. It's a book or a new program or a whole new piece of the business. And then I break it down into quarters, and I break those down into monthly actions. And so it's really having that objective and then those quarterly benchmarks. And I think if you do that and you really tap into who you are and say, what do I really want to accomplish? And if it's, it's not that big a deal, well, don't even make that your 1-year goal. You just do that on your own, or you'll never do it and you won't even care. But when you can say, what is non-negotiable? What do I absolutely have to do? And if you can't think a year out, then think a quarter out, because a year feels very far off and uncertain. But if you think about the next 90 days, because we're in our last quarter now, what do I have to do in 90 days to really tee up 2021? What is that one thing that has to happen? Then I think that's where people start getting real with themselves and say, oh, I can't finish out the year if I don't do this. And I think that's what gets people to move.
Yeah.
And you've got to put your own passion and excitement behind it. If you're not, it's just not going to come to fruition. You're not going to do it.
Yeah, I think really what you're saying is it comes down to making some form of progress. I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit for just forward movement and momentum. We're always looking for a result. And I always think that, use business development as an example. We only count it as success when we land the deal, versus if you back up and you say, I may not have any business today, but at least I'm making sales calls. Right. You're getting closer to the ultimate goal. And that's really what it's about. It's just getting closer to the ultimate goal.
And that's the way you frame it, is that I make X number of calls per week. You're not even setting, you may have the big picture outcome you want in terms of whatever it is, revenue or relationships or whatever. But if you frame it as, I'm going to do X, that's the part that's within your control. I'm going to make 100 calls a week. That you can control. Whether you're going to close them all, that's a harder thing for you to say. Or I'm going to write a book. To say I'm going to write a New York Times bestseller, that's way out there. But to say I'm going to write the best book I can possibly write today, and that's what I'm working on, then that's a tangible goal that you can control.
Yeah. Well, it is hard to believe, but we are coming to the close of this show. Tell us what you're working on now, and tell our listeners how they can find you, get a hold of you, because they need to be following you, Libby.
Well, thank you. You're very kind, Meredith. A bunch of stuff right now that came out of what we're talking about. Try something new. So I started a laser coaching program. It's a year-long program and very cost-effective, and it gets you into immediate action. And I'm there to say, here's your next step. Here's your next step. And also I have, I'm a writer. I love to write. A lot of people said to me they missed, like I did, my favorite writing coffee shop. So I started writing sprint so we could join virtually and write together. So it's a group where we support each other and we write together online, set an objective, and you sprint write for 90 minutes. And so all kinds of fun things. And a new book coming out in January called Leadership Reckoning, and I'm excited about that. I'll tell you more about that the next time.
Right.
They can just find me on my website or email me at libbygill.com, libby@libbygill.com.
Well, it has been great talking with you today. As usual, you have been a fantastic guest, and I wish we had longer, so we will have to do this again. I really encourage people to follow up with you and follow you at libbygill.com. And thank you, everybody, for joining us again. And we will see you next week with another show, another set of strategies, and the more things that you need to know to turn all of this uncertainty to your competitive advantage.